themselves. How about that? How about you just have some fun and you just do it yourself? What do you want for Christmas?
Oh, I just want a bunch of books. I want some jogging shoes. I
You're
want
not
some
gonna jog.
I'm gonna jog.
You've never worked out. Seriously, You've never worked out a day in your life.
I've worked out, you know.
What? When have you ever ran?
I ran. I've
When
run.
have you? When did you?
I've been a casual jogger for like 6 years to
You've
where
been
I'll
a
like go on a
casual
jog.
jogger.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You say that. You say that again. You're a cat. Say that. I want to hear that come out your mouth.
A
You're a cat
casual jogger, a
away from
light
bodies.
jogger, you know,
Oh,
not
you
super
light
into it,
jogger away
but
from bodies.
no, not jog, just jogging around the neighborhood, you know,
Jogging
just
around the
going
neighborhood
on a nice little,
to cover your
but then
tracks away from that body that you've
no,
left.
just trying to live longer because I used to smoke and my mom had lung cancer, so I'm trying to make sure that I have strong lungs.
That's
And
cool.
Alex
No,
always
I'm.
tells me you can still get cancer and die even if you're a jogger, and I'm like, no, but it helps my brain. It helps me think that I'm doing something about the gradual encroachment of cancer that's just kind of metastasizing in my chest. But if I can run around, I feel like I can control that inevitable fate, that doom hammer, about to swing down on the anvil.
It's like you don't want us to start this podcast off successfully. It's like you just don't want it. It's like you just don't like you don't want to start it. And like I enjoy zooming with you. I enjoy zooming with you. I enjoy podcasting with you. I enjoy talking about history with you. But not like for hours. We're trying to start this podcast for hours at this point. 18 hours of us on this Zoom. I don't even
This
know how
might be a record.
I don't even know
Just
how
looking for
long
the
we've
right
I
shoe
think this
in.
is a record for zooming right now. We've
It's pretty
zoomed
crazy.
our way to old age, and I think we're on Medicare now. I
Hmm.
think we're on Medicare. I think we're on Medicaid or Medic. I don't know which one's for old people. I don't know
I
which
don't
one's for,
remember either.
but I think we're on it now because
We're on one of them.
of our inability to
All
start this
right.
Zoom
Start this damn.
podcast, Zoom podcast, podcast Zoom podcast about
What do you
history.
want? What do you want for Christmas?
I want to start this podcast. That's what the fuck I want for. That's what I want for
Make my
Christmas.
Christmas.
I
Okay.
really just
All right.
make my
Let's just.
dreams come true and start this goddamn podcast about who
All
are we
right.
talking about today?
All right. We have today. We've got a man, a eloquent speaker, a leader of his people, a visionary who always wanted to hang on to his homelands and do the
Master
best
P.
for his people.
Master P.
Master P,
P.
the
Yeah.
one, the
No,
only.
you don't realize he was immortal. Come on, son. Okay, sorry.
That's
Wait,
right.
who are we really
He's
talking
been
about?
around forever. We're
Yeah.
talking about Heenmot Tuyulatkekt, aka Chief Joseph. So
Okay.
Chief Joseph, commonly known by history, I guess, more so as Chief Joseph, was born March 3rd, 1840. But his name, again, that's Heenmot Tuyulatkekt, which means thunder rolling from the mountains to the Nimi Ipu tribe, aka the Nez Perce.
Okay.
And Nimi Ipu, I think in their own tongue, means the real people,
Okay.
whereas Nez Perce just means pierced nose in French. So I guess they all had like nasal piercings.
That's
He's
pretty
born
sick.
in the Wallowa Valley, northeast Oregon, and his father is Chief Tuekakas.
You know all these Native Native American lands that we've talked about over this
Mhm.
series, and it's all their lands are like that they get dispossessed of and people fight and die over
Mhm.
are lands that we literally don't use.
It's pretty
No,
crazy.
like,
I mean,
nobody
technically, the
cares.
entire, even like LA and Houston and Chicago, even our best cities were at some point native lands, but the
They
majority
were.
of it is like a vast swath of nothingness that we're
Oh,
now like, all right,
I'm talking about these struggles.
oh yeah,
These struggles that we have been covering.
the plains.
The plains, even with the Indian removal, nobody lives, nobody
Hmm.
lives in that part of Georgia.
I don't
Nobody
think so.
really
Yeah.
lives in that part of northern. Like my family's from a part of Mississippi, close to where the Choctaw Chickasaw. Do we really want that? Can we? You know what?
And
All
they
right.
got out. Apparently, they were like, "Fuck this! I don't.
Yeah,
I
no,
don't, I don't want to be here anymore."
we all these places are just places that people in the 80s will make movies about leaving.
Yeah, yeah. All
Yeah,
these places are just places we thought we wanted, or we wanted them, and then we took all the gold out, and then we're like, "All right,
yeah. And then
we
and
don't know what to do.
then 130 years later, kids, somebody will make a movie about wearing a jean jacket and getting out of this
Mhm.
town to the big
That's
city.
right. I'm getting out of this
I
town.
gotta get out.
I'm getting out of here, man. I'm
All
just
of
gonna
these
drive
places,
and I'm gonna keep going.
all these places are places where they don't allow liquor and they don't allow dancing now.
God damn it. Yep. Utah. Utah's just a state that was co-opted by a cult. Have you
I
ever thought
mean,
about how crazy it is? It's on the map.
look,
It's
look,
nuts, man.
look. We
It's
have a lot of
nuts.
viewers in Utah. We have a lot of
Do,
viewers.
do we?
No, we have none. So
So
disrespect the
fuck
Mormons
'em.
all you want to.
The
like,
traditional Nez Perce territory is mainly in like kind of the middle Iowa, not like chunky Idaho, and not like skinny Idaho, like right there in the middle. Parts of like northwest Oregon, northeast Oregon, southeast Washington, and like parts of western Montana. And there's an old Nimi Ipu story where the Corps of Discovery, Lewis and Clark, they're passing through, and the tribe, the elders, are debating whether or not to kill the Corps of Discovery, but they're convinced by a woman named Watkuweis to help them instead of kill them. And then the Nez Perce through their mountains and back through their mountains help the Corps of Discovery on both ends. They serve as like scouts and stuff and are like guiding them through all these treacherous passes and whatnot. And while with the Nez Perce, apparently William Clark sires a son, a man named Halatukit.
look,
So William Clark was getting around.
look. I'm just gonna say this right now. Women are our earth, and they're the best of us.
Mm-hmm.
But in the Lewis and Clark days, these Native women's were really fucking up. Really, just fucking up. Murder them. Murder them.
Murder the
Take
women.
no, not the women. Jesus
Oh,
Christ.
oh.
Lewis and Clark murdered the Corps of Discovery.
Yeah,
Kill them.
fuck them.
Sacagawea, this
Mm-hmm.
lady, you gotta murder. You gotta murder Lewis and Clark.
Yeah,
You
there was
gotta
a
like. This is the time when you should have killed them.
they're gonna bring famine
Yeah,
and death and disease and all sorts of violence
yeah.
and madness and badness, and
These are
maybe you
people you
just
don't need
snuff
to be
this one
nice
out real
to.
quick.
You know what I
No,
mean? This
they're
is
gonna fuck you over. Yeah,
yeah, no. This is the time you just go. You know what I
you
mean?
just do it. You just do it. You cut off the head of this snake.
Yeah.
And it doesn't reform. Unlike what the flag would let you believe that don't tread on me. Not this time.
Okay.
Nez Perce, they live on a on a diet of salmon, primarily salmon, I think, because there's a bunch of rivers in their territory. Also, deer, antelope, and as far as their travel patterns or living patterns, is they live up in the Wallowa Valley, which is about 4,000 feet above sea level, and so naturally in the winter it would get super cold, and so they would have to go down into the canyons around the mountains and around the valley, so their horses and cattle would survive. And then the Nez Perce or the Nimi Ipu obviously know the terrain really well since they're traveling back and forth. And then they're sometimes going out on joint buffalo raids with the Flatheads. Flatheads are, loose, I think pretty closely allied, actually. There's also a Nez Perce rite of passage where a person would learn the tribal ways from like their elders, their grandparents, or their parents, and they would go out into the mountains with no food and no weapons and just fast until they reach a trance state. And they would search for their Wayakin or Wayakin, which I'm not sure exactly what it translates into, or even if it has like a proper translation. But the Wayakin was like a guiding spirit that ascribed their role in the band. And it wasn't always an animal. Like sometimes it could be something as abstract as like a rainbow or a lightning bolt that would tell you what your talent was and what you were supposed to do for your people.
I've been to Tanzania and like they have a similar rite of passage,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like they just send like 14-year-old, 13-year-old boys, and they're just like you see them on like the side of the road, but they like do like a white face paint. It's like a white face paint,
Uh-huh.
and
Okay.
like you'll just see them on the side of the road. They're supposed to just like live out there for like 2 months,
Yeah.
figure it out, then come back. Oh man, which it's just interesting how these cultures from different places across the
Yeah.
world,
Have this. Yeah.
you
Can
got
you
it
imagine having that sort of guidance in your life though? Like I
to what?
marvel at that where if you're like a teenager and you're like, all right, well, I went on a vision quest and I was told that this is what I am. This is my core identity and this is what I need to do for my people. And that is what I will do. I was told by the Great Spirit, this is my role. But here in the West, instead, we're just awash in freedom. that you just have this constant anxiety about like, am I doing the right thing? My dad told me to be a doctor, but I don't know if I want to be a doctor. I want to be a dancer, you know? And so but I just imagine having that certification of like, this is who you are, that certainty.
No, I have that. I have that. So
Yeah, you,
God told me I was supposed to play chess.
why aren't you playing chess, man?
Didn't listen.
Mm.
Didn't listen on the podcast.
I know better than God. All right.
Yeah, I know better than God. So I just became a podcaster and made no money. Why are people still podcasting? There's no money.
There's no money.
There's no money. There's no women. There's a
Uh-huh.
little self-respect. You want to lose some respect for yourself? Look at your numbers.
Look at your numbers. Look at your average listening times.
Look at your
How
average
about
listening
that?
time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
1855, there are treaty negotiations amongst the U.S. and the Nez Perce. Treaty negotiations. During this, they call Tuekakas Joseph because he was like christened as Joseph. Tuekakas was by this guy Henry Spalding back in I think 1840, and they also call
You're doing it in basketballs.
Hinmatuyalakek Joseph as well, which is how he becomes known as Chief Joseph. So in June of 1855, there's the first Nez Perce Treaty. I don't know if it's the first actually, but just June 1855, there's Nez Perce Treaty, and it guarantees the Wallowa Valley to the Nimiipu. 1860, gold is discovered along the Clearwater River in Idaho, and so white settlers just pour into Nez Perce territory, and they're there illegally by according to the treaty stipulations. But the U.S. is going through the Civil War. Obviously, they both need money and are not about to turn more people against them by enforcing the terms of the treaty. So instead, they just decide to sign a new one.
It's just weird the how much like we see, and especially in the West, you see people following gold, trying to get gold, and like white people don't even like gold anymore.
Not anymore. It's
They don't
ever
even
since
really
Nixon,
fuck with
man.
gold.
Nixon took us off that shit and was like,
Oh,
"Oh,
the
they
gold standard.
they do,"
Okay, yeah.
but they're the same dudes who like listen to Joe Rogan and Alex Jones,
Hey
and are
man.
all about like,
Hey,
"Oh,
those
the
people love.
financial market's about to collapse. You gotta stock up on gold, brother.
Those
Gold's the
people.
only thing that retains its value, brother.
Hey,
After the impending economic collapse, brother."
don't you insult the heart of our country? All right,
The heart and soul.
that's
All those beautiful souls in
the heart of.
Wyoming and Idaho and
They are the
Montana.
heart of our country. They are
Mhm.
the heart, and a lot of cholesterol in them hearts.
A lot of
a lot of cholesterol.
eating
in
too
those
many of
hearts.
those damn cheeseburgers,
Nah,
man.
man, you can't just eat elk meat. You gotta
You
eat stuff.
can't just eat
You
elk
got some
meat all the
greens,
time.
dog.
It's gonna fuck you up, bro.
You gotta
I bet it's really
exotic
fatty.
meats.
I don't know if it is or isn't.
Bro, I've yeah, nah. There's the steakhouse. I don't know I forgot which one's called, but there's the one like in Memorial City. Just eating all types of exotic big slices of meat. You ever had a tomahawk steak?
No.
It's gorgeous, dog.
Is it good?
Makes you wanna go to war in Iraq again.
Reinvade.
It.
Lots of freedom in that
If
steak.
this is what this is for, yeah. And people in there just
Lots
striking
of
oil
freedom.
deals, invading countries. It's crazy. Like,
So as far as the new treaty is concerned, they sign it in 1863 in the middle of the Civil War. They offer the Nimiipu a reservation to be policed by an Indian agent, and it's a little bit less of the territory that they had under the 55 treaty. It's like 90% of the land that they had from 55, but Tuekakas never signs it. In
yeah.
fact, his band refers to it as the Thief Treaty or the Steal Treaty, and
Okay.
it separates the Nimiipu into treaty bands and non-treaty bands. So I think a majority of the Nez Perce as a whole do sign the 1863 treaty, but Tuekakas and his son Chief Joseph are part of the band that does not. So you again see factionalism between the indigenous. So summer of 1871, Chief Tuekakas is on his deathbed. Chief Joseph, the younger, is 31, and he calls for his son, and he names Hinmatuyalatkek chief of their people, says, "My son, never forget my dying words. This country holds your father's body. Never sell the bones of your father and mother." And according to Chief Joseph's writings, he says, "I pressed my father's hand and told him I would protect his grave with my life."
Okay.
And this is all based on the source that we're using for this is Thunder in the Mountains by this guy, Daniel F. Sharfstein. He lives in Nashville. He published it in 2017, so this is pretty recent. August of 1872, there's this guy, John Monteith, who's a U.S. Indian agent for the Nez Perce Reservation. He rides into the Nez Perce, the non-treaty, like Chief Joseph's camp in Wallowa, basically to convince them that their land wasn't theirs, because in America we believe in democracy and majority rule in particular, where a majority of the Nez Perce signed this, and so therefore you're subject to the stipulations of this treaty. But Chief Joseph's whole contention is that, like, yeah, they all might have signed that, but I don't follow majority rule. I am my own entity, and you need to entreat with me.
You know how big your mustache has to be, and to walk into somebody else's place and be like,
Mm-hmm.
"Yo, this isn't yours."
Mm-mm.
Like, imagine how big you
How
get to
big and
walk in.
burly that
Yeah, you just
mustache
gotta have a
is.
crazy mustache to walk in
Uh-huh.
to be like, no, 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 no. This house. See,
Uh-huh.
but here's the thing. Here's the thing. To like, get that, I would have to grow a big mustache, take 3 shots of whiskey. I can
Mm-hmm.
convince anybody
I can convince
that this
anybody of
isn't.
anything. You know
No,
what I
no,
mean?
no. See, there's the thing with the way the treaty said. I didn't
Uh-huh.
look at my mustache.
Look at you really gonna
Look at
dispute this
my
sick
mustache.
this sick facial hair? You know those guys? I'm always impressed by those guys. I haven't seen it in a while, but like they would have like sick ass sideburns, and then their beard would grow up into their mustache, but they would keep the chin shaved, and it just looks crazy. It looks like there's a bird taking flight on their face. You know what I'm talking about?
Nah, man. With black people, we outlawed that. We outlawed that. We
I'm,
outlawed that
I'm
facial
pretty sure
hair.
black people had that
No, we
shit, but
outlawed
it's just
it.
like it
No,
was
it's
crazy.
done.
It's sick, man. It looks crazy.
No, we outlawed it. We outlawed it. I was there.
We're
I
done
was,
with it.
I was
We're
part of the
done. We're not
Congress.
doing this anymore. Looks ridiculous.
I introduced the bill on the floor of the Black Congress.
The Black Congress, the secret
Yeah,
Black
the
Congress.
secret Black Congress that meets in Atlanta
We make all
every
the
year.
decisions. All right.
Yeah, yeah.
So Monteith, so the deliberations are going on, and they kind of come to an impasse, but not. It's not an entirely an impasse, because Monteith later writes. I'm not sure who he writes to. I think he writes to like another government official, or in his recommendations, he's saying that if there is any way by which the Wallowa Valley could be kept for the Indians, I would recommend that it be done. So March of 1863, Chief Joseph goes to Lapwai, which is a camp. I think now I'm not sure if it's a city anymore. I know they had like Fort Lapwai, which is
Okay.
in like the skinny part of Idaho, to speak to Monteith and other dignitaries, and he kind of reiterates his points. And that same year, 1873, President Grant issues an executive order forbidding white settlement of the Wallowa Valley. And the Interior Department and the Office of Indian Affairs are in favor of letting the Nez Perce keep the land, but the settlers, obviously, they want the land for themselves, and so they're exerting power and pressure through alternative avenues, specifically through Congress people. And so you've got some Congress people from the Northwest who are pushing for the opening of the Wallowa Valley.
That won't be the last time Congress people from the middle of nowhere have fucked over this country.
Have fucked over this country. Yes, have fucked over an entire ethnicity.
Especially brown, especially brown people. Yes, yes. It won't be the last time that these Congress people from East Oregon and Idaho really fuck over brown people.
Hey, but the potatoes, man, we need the valve for the potatoes.
Oh
right?
no, I just look at Idaho and people always forget this is the place that Napoleon Dynamite's from. This is
we wouldn't. Okay, all right.
Yeah,
you
no.
can condemn this as much as you want, but
Yeah.
if we hadn't have done all of, we wouldn't have Napoleon Dynamite. So
Which I'm fine with. No, I'm fine with not having Napoleon Dynamite so like brown people can have their thing. I don't really care about Napoleon Dynamite that much. I think
I think we fucked up. I think
yo, but like straight up, if the Native Americans don't have their land, then there's no Napoleon Dynamite. What do you think about that? Oh, I don't.
I mean, I mean to split hairs here, but I think we made the wrong decision.
Look, if we did, we wouldn't have sweet jean jackets leaving this town.
I wouldn't have potatoes rotting on top of my refrigerator.
Yeah,
right
dog,
now.
man.
Okay, come
fucking...
on. August of 1875, there's a delegation to Wallowa, to Chief Joseph's camp, tells Chief Joseph and the Nez Perce that pretty much Grant has reversed course, and despite the executive order that he he proclaimed or that he issued. Congress people have won over, and now the Wallowa Valley is open to settlement. And Chief Joseph wants to stick it out and kind of like fight this, whatever avenue, or he wants to, he's deliberating. So he wants the land, obviously, but he's also not a warrior like this guy, Ala Limya Takanin, or Looking Glass, or his younger brother, Alakot, is also a pretty prominent warrior. And so Chief Joseph temporarily urges coexistence, that maybe this can work.
Yeah, maybe these white people won't come in here and be extremely rude and always looking.
And always
That's
always
one of my main complaints.
always snooping.
Maybe they don't have any issues and always looking and coming in trying to get gold and stuff. And then he was wrong. They looked a lot.
He was as it turns out,
they looked.
June of 1876, this guy Wells McNail, who's just a private citizen, he's in a struggle with Will Hautia, which means wind blowing. And they're like struggling back and forth, I think, because they hunted together and there was a dispute over something. I'm not sure exactly what. But the neighbor of
over
McNaul,
him always looking.
Always
looking.
Why
are you trying to come out my house? You always looking at me.
Always looking at. I was sizing my
out
shit
the
up,
window.
You know?
Yeah,
always
it's weird.
Looking to see what I got on the shelf, checking my fridge and shit. Like, just checking up. Like, yeah. How about you? Don't worry about it. Right?
Yeah, I mean, like, so I come outside of my house. I come outside of my drawer sometimes. I'm trying to take my shit to the recycle bin because I recycle because I cares about the earth or whatever they call it.
Where we're headed. I think me recycling offsets the fact that I'm not wearing pants. All right, this is my yard.
Yeah, this is my yard.
Wear pants in my own yard. Right? Come on.
This is a personal dispute that I have with a neighbor. And I'm gonna get a repeating rifle. I'm gonna solve that. I'm not gonna do that. I just want to say that
you should egg them.
No,
you gotta up the stakes gradually. You know.
No, I've been watching too many westerns. I've been watching way too many westerns. I'm just gonna get a repeater rifle.
Situations can escalate. Right?
Yeah, no, I'm joking. I'm not gonna do that because I don't have any beef with neighbors. It's a podcast. We're having fun.
So Alexander Findley, who's the neighbor of McNaul, he shoots wind blowing, and now you've got a dead Nez Perce, and the Nez Perce are kind of like, what the fuck? And the U.S. public officials are also trying to calm things down. There's this guy, General Oliver Otis Howard, who is a Civil War veteran. He got, I'm not sure which arm it was, but one of his arms, it was like completely blown off in a battle, I think in like 1862. I'm not sure the battle, maybe Fallen Timbers. No, not Fallen Timbers. That's something else. Fallen Oaks. I'm not sure. It's like shot off, and he's like not only a Civil War veteran, but like a champion of Reconstruction. You know Howard University. That's named after this guy. So he's like a champion of African American Black civil rights and everything.
Okay,
so.
well, I mean, I hesitate with 1876 calling anybody a champion of Black civil rights because
I mean,
because there always could be some faults in there, but if Howard's named after him, Howard is a place where like they would have changed that. They would have changed, like Howard would have been like, no, Howard would have been named an African name. If Howard is a very like culturally aware place, so yes, but
I mean, he at least did his part to move the wheel a little bit. Or to like,
and definitely like, how do you still serve in the army if your arm's been blown off? In this time, like I understand now because like now they just can get you a robot arm real quick, Doug.
Yeah,
get you something sick real quick.
You fixed up like a better arm.
Yeah,
this is sick.
Why will they do that? Because not a lot of people sign up for the army anymore.
Well, he had like a huge falling out to where there was this guy, I think it was the Secretary of War under Grant Belknap, who was in like he had to resign due to corruption charges, and like Howard was implicated because they were like, there was some scam going on with the agency and the reservations and stuff to where they were like, they were pulling some kind of tricks, and Howard is like implicated.
Yeah.
And so he gets sent out away from the seat of action to kind of avoid maybe not to testify. I don't
No, there's
ways around this.
No, there's a hell of a lot of scams. If you think of scams have been done. There's a lot of scams.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Scams aren't new. All right.
Yeah.
So June 1876, or General Oliver Otis Howard. He's kind of like the top army guy out there. He sent some officials out to investigate the situation and try to keep the peace. That same month is the Battle of Little Bighorn, and there are massive repercussions. Obviously, we talked about it last episode. American policy preference shifts from accommodation and coexistence to more strong action.
Mm, okay.
On July 22nd of 1876, Chief Joseph and Ollicott, his younger brother, arrive at Lapwai to talk about the situation, and the whites basically use the killing as a pretext. They're saying that the Nez Perce should maybe move on to the reservation. That way we can protect you from these vicious settlers. And it's like, well, how about you just keep the settlers out of our territory? And it's like, no, we can keep them away from you as long as you're on the reservation, So it's shifty.
Yeah, no, I mean this is like the same argument you got across the Indian removal. Like it was like, hey, we're just bad for you guys. You guys
We're
should
just
move
bad.
the
You just
fuck
need to be
on.
you should just move away from
Yeah,
us. And
you
it's
should
like, well,
really like wait, why are you here? No. We're why we are bad for you. Our cultures, but you should just get the fuck out of here, dog.
well, you see, as a matter of God actually told us to
Yeah.
expand from sea to signing
Uh-huh.
sea. So we
Yeah.
kind of have to do it.
I kind of have to be
So
here. It's kind of this whole
uh-huh.
thing about
I don't want to be,
it's a
but
process. I
God
think
told
is the
me
whole
that
thing.
I needed to, and
Yeah,
so
but
I'm
here's
not
the
happy
thing.
about it either.
Yeah, yeah, but you should really.
But you
I
should really
can't
get out of
help
here.
but hurt you. You should leave.
It's not going to be my fault,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
And
That's a
Joseph
sick
and Ollicott,
logic. That's
they
crazy.
obviously disagree with what the
Yeah.
whites are talking about. They reiterate their stance of like, we're not selling our father's grave, we're not selling the
Uh-huh.
graves of our people, we're not selling this land. And they like outline what they think their territory is and what they think it should be. In response to all this, the U.S. they appoint a commission to investigate the killing and to make recommendations based on what they find out, obviously. So November and December of 1876, Chief Joseph and Ollicott meet again with Howard and another like U.S. official inside of a church. And the U.S. is toying with the idea of offering money for his land. And Joseph says, and they're like showing him all these maps where the boundaries would be and everything. And I really like this. Joseph says in response, he says, "It is in no person's power to make a boundary. That which has no limits has no right to be divided."
Mm, mm, mm,
The Nez
mm.
Perce are upset that McNall and Findlay have like never been brought to justice. They keep going back to where he's never been like tried or brought in or anything like that.
I just that whole quote is dope, but then like I
Uh-huh.
imagine the white person or the person in the room, whoever, was just like and just like with a pencil just drew a line and was like boundary.
So this
Like
this one, right?
I can
This
do it
line,
right
that's a
here.
good one. It's like,
Yeah, I can just do it.
I
Like
just did it right there.
yeah,
Look
I
at that,
just did it right there. So yeah,
Uh-huh.
no, that's it's fucked up, but yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So they never bring the two whites, they never bring the murderers in, basically, and they're kind of increasingly upset that it's like, if we killed one of your men, if the Nez Perce killed a white guy, we would be brought in. Why haven't you done the same for us in the other direction? So the next few months they keep going back and forth, repeatedly rejecting the US plan for them to take up agriculture and move on to the reservation. And then Chief Joseph says in another meeting, as kind of an outright rejection of their plan, he says, "As for the Wallowa Valley, I will settle there in my own way and at my own pleasure. So I'm not taking up agriculture.
Hmm.
I'm not selling the land. I'm doing what I want with it because it's our
Yeah,
it's our territory."
yeah.
Winter of 1876 and 1877, the U.S. informs the Nez Perce that based on the findings of the commission that was appointed to investigate the killing, the Department of the Interior, they're going to have to force the Nez Perce from their land.
I like how they want them to take up farming and like the only like the farming is potato farming.
Is potatoes.
Like
Is potatoes. Like,
we just want you to become Irish. How do you feel
Mhm.
about that? Like it's like wait, no, so what's the perks of being Irish? You get to drink. These are all stereotypes. You get to drink, like, and you get to make potatoes, and you get to have a lively culture. You ever been to Boston? You familiar
We've
with
been to
Boston?
Boston. It's
And they're like,
pretty
no,
swinging.
no, I don't want to just be funny in the 80s.
Nope, not at all. I don't want to throw out my cake on one of the seasons of Great British Baking Show.
I don't want to. I don't
All
want to
right,
just. I
that's a
don't.
deep cut right there.
I
That's
don't know
pretty
what that cut is deep because I don't even know what the fuck you're
pretty deep.
talking about.
That's pretty deep.
Like,
So they keep going back and forth, back and forth. I'm sorry. The commencement of hostilities begins June of 1877. There's this other non-treaty Nez Perce band under this guy Whitebird, and they stage a telecline, which is a ceremony that like celebrates past battles and everything. And there's this one warrior named Walititz who's shore crossing. He's participating in this ceremony, but it's like common knowledge that he had failed to avenge the death of his father, who was killed by white people. But according to Sharfstein, uh, Shore Crossing's father had told him not to avenge his death because he knew the situation would escalate. And Shore Crossing is publicly taunted during the ceremony for not having done so. And so Shore Crossing and a few other guys, they go out, I think that night or the next night, and they go avenge his father's death. They go
yeah,
raid white settlements with, they kill a few people and like the violence spreads. And then the U.S. Army under Howard is mobilized for a counterattack. And this is the beginning of the Nez Perce campaign, or the flight of the Nez Perce, as it's known historically. And its various bands are all non-treaty bands, of course, are all on the run. You've got some under Chief Joseph, under Whitebird. There's another chief, or another like spiritual leader, I think it was described as Tuhuhul Zote. They're all on the run trying to get to Sitting Bull up in Canada because they know he's there, and
okay,
they know Sitting Bull. Everybody
yeah.
knows Sitting Bull. You know
And
what
we
I mean?
all
They're
know,
trying to
yeah,
get
he's
up to
like,
him.
yeah, he
Huh?
was, yeah, Sitting Bull. He was the Rick Ross of his time. That's what
Was he?
they said. That's what they say about him. They don't say that.
So June 16th of 1877, there's a battle at Whitebird Canyon, which is known by the Nez Perce as La Mata, La Mata, along the Salmon River in Idaho. And the indigenous take position in some like ridges and knolls and buttes above the canyon, or like above the valley, because I think there's like a valley in the middle, and then you've got hills on one side and like buttes and ridges and stuff on the other. And white soldiers are like running down the field to try to get to the indigenous camp, but they're wide the fuck open to just be like sniped.
Mhm.
And to give you an idea of what's going on, Yellow Wolf, who is Chief Joseph's nephew,
No,
he
that's
picks off the bugler before he can finish trumpeting. So you've got the U.S. Army bugler out there just you know
yeah. I mean, that's you familiar with Yellow Wolf, the rapper,
uh
Catfish Billy?
Catfish
He's a
Billy.
he's a he's a he's a he's a he's a rapper from like the South who's like kind of like, yeah. But all right, never mind. You
I
don't
wonder
know.
if he got the name from Yellow Wolf. I wonder if you know
I
about it.
maybe I it would be weird. All right, that's
It'd
I
be
don't
pretty
know much
cool
about
if he
Yellow
did,
Wolf.
actually.
Yeah, okay, maybe.
Maybe.
Shout out to I've
It's,
never listened to much Yellow Wolf, but I was
maybe
hoping
you
you had.
should. Maybe he's
Maybe
maybe
you
he's where it's
okay.
at.
Maybe
Maybe
I
he's
don't.
cool. I don't
Okay,
know.
all right. Well, we both don't know.
And so they're at like they're sniping for a while, but then eventually like the fight breaks out in the canyon, and indigenous warriors are charging the whites and repelling them. And so the U.S. Army retreats. Howard wasn't present at the battle, I don't believe, but I think some of his like captains and lieutenants and guys under him were. And Howard is the main guy, I think, charged by Sherman actually to pursue the Nez Perce and to get them on the reservation, right? Next big battle is July 11th or 12th, 1877. You got the Battle of the Clearwater, which is a little northwest of Whitebird Canyon. This is all like central Idaho. And the fighting's a little more intense here. The army's a little more organized and like less skittish, and also they're better equipped. They have like Gatlings and howitzers and stuff. But again, the Nez Perce are using the mountains as kind of like a crow's nest, and the battle lasts a few days. And the Sharfstein describes Yellow Wolf and other warriors just chilling in a rifle pit for like a couple days, just with their weapons and just shooting when they can, because the village is off behind
yeah,
the bluffs, and so they're able to like defend it up there for a while. And the Nez Perce flee, taking their necessity, and the U.S. swoops into their camp and burns it down, and then continues the pursuit. And now Looking Glass and Chief Joseph and Ollicott, they're all deliberating, they decide to head southeast rather than straight to Canada. They're going to go southeast to the Bitterroot Valley in southwest Montana to trade with the Flatheads a little bit. You know, have always been their ally. Maybe not always, but who, you know, are their ally, and to hunt buffalo and to rebuild their stores because they just lost a bunch of food and maybe get some horses. That way, when we get to Sitting Bull up in Canada, we're approaching him from a position of strength.
Okay.
Do we have shit to trade and we have food and everything? We can help
Yeah.
him out and, you know, negotiate a little bit, maybe a better position for ourselves.
We're not just dropping our bags, being like, "I'm here." It's like
I'm
nobody
here. What's
wants
up,
you.
man?
Your broke ass. No,
You
no,
didn't
no
even
one.
bring a six pack or
You
anything.
didn't
Come
bring
on,
a
bro.
six pack.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
You didn't bring nothing. You didn't bring takeout. You didn't offer to get takeout or anything. What are you
Every
doing?
person who comes to my house, he must bring a bottle of whiskey,
A bottle?
or yeah, a bottle.
Okay.
Don't come to my house with no. Don't come to my house empty
Don't come
handed.
in my house with no goddamn whiskey. What do you think
When
this
you come
is? You
here,
know?
you come here, you come here just dirt with dirty drawers on.
Then
Ask
you
them
go and
wash
you
my
look at
drawers.
you
Ask
look at
wash drawers
everything
and shit.
on the bookshelf, and you go and look around in the fridge.
And you don't
Look
fucking
around at
you
everything.
brought
You know,
nothing. You brought
you
nothing
brought
but pain
nothing.
and misery to my home. You know what I mean? You come with
You're a
a
burden.
you come with fine premium whiskeys, and by premium I mean like Jack
Evan
Daniels.
Williams. I'm just doing it. I'm just
Evan
doing Evan
Williams,
Williams.
are you
It's
sad?
affordable and it's
Are
not
you
bad.
sad?
You know,
Are
huh?
you sad?
Yeah, I'm
You
pretty.
want to
Yeah,
do a lot? Okay,
I've been sad.
we're not gonna talk about it after. I just want to know so I can make fun of it.
So late July to August of 1877, the Nez Perce, they're traveling along the Idaho and Montana border, which it looks that border looks weird, but it's not a river. I don't think. I think it's something called like Lolo Pass, which is like a pass through mountains on either side of Idaho and Montana. I think that's what the name of the thing that they're traveling through, the Lolo Pass, but it's also the border. It's not a river. I just learned that today. And I was like, because it looks crazy. But they're while they're traveling down the border, they're raiding white settlements along the way, and they end up stopping at this place called the Big Hole.
Okay.
August 8th of 1877, Colonel John Gibbon, who was stationed in Montana but has also been mobilized. He fought against the Lakota. He orders a charge against their camp because he scouts it out and he finds it, and he basically catches the Nez Perce off guard, but they're able to mobilize, and the Yellow Wolf and Ollicott ride out while Chief Joseph deconstructs the camp and leads his people away from the battle. And this is what's known as the Battle of the Big Hole, or the Big Hole Massacre, because the Nez Perce, they lose a lot of their best warriors, and the whites end up killing more women and children than warriors. So it's not exactly a glorious victory.
Okay.
August and through September of 1877, the Nez Perce, they hook east, and then they kind of like dip back down into Idaho, and then hook east through Wyoming, and then head north through Montana, and they're crossing the Yellowstone, they cross the Missouri River, they cross the Milk River. And while this is all going on, like Big Hole's a fairly large blow to
Yeah.
the Nez Perce and to morale, and it's like getting increasingly difficult because Howard is in pursuit, Gibbon is in pursuit. The stakes are increasing, and so some bands are going to breaking off of Chief Joseph's command and going to live on the reservation rather than get up to Canada. And they're also like the Crows have allied with the U.S. and some Lakota as well under Crook, the guy who killed Crazy Horse. Basically, he's
Yeah.
now joined the fray, and this all culminates September 30th of 1877. General Nelson Miles, aka Bearcoat, engages the Nez Perce camp at Bear Paw, which is about 40 miles from the Canadian border, known by the Nez Perce as the Great Medicine Line. And they're under siege. The remaining Nez Perce are under siege, and Chief Joseph eventually decides to surrender. Some Nez Perce don't agree with that decision, and they head north into Canada and actually get to Sitting Bull.
Yeah.
But also, the Nez Perce who remain are kind of wondering, like, where the fuck is Sitting Bull? Like, we thought that maybe there's a possibility that Sitting Bull was going to ride out with some Lakota, or at least send some Lakota down
Yeah.
to relieve us and to help us out and to make sure that we're able to get there. But he doesn't, for one reason or another. Maybe he just didn't know, or maybe he was tired of warring. Maybe he was doing his own thing. I don't know enough
Yeah.
about Sitting Bull to
Yeah, to make that determination of like, yo,
Yeah.
like what was his mind state. But also like these are just bands. These aren't the whole tribe. This isn't a conceded landmass like of
Mhm.
people. This
Yeah.
is like so he might have been thinking like, yo, it's not enough. I
Yeah.
gotta make it here. I can't expose myself enough going down there to get them.
Yeah.
Also, like Native Americans calling uh our indigenous peoples calling the Canadian American US border like the Great Medicine Line. It's super interesting just because I imagine they were getting chased, something was happening,
Hmm.
but they get chased by US cavalry or something, and then they cross that line and then they just stopped. They're like, oh my God. Like it's like it must have like no, they
Hmm.
can't cross that line. That's
They
the Great
can't.
Medicine Line. I
Yep.
that's why I imagine happened. I have no clue.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well, because they knew that the U.S. wasn't going to open up the war front because they would be
yeah,
invading Canada if
uh-huh,
they did, and it's like, well, we if we get there, we're safe.
yeah,
Grass is always greener. If
yeah,
these people believe in borders and everything.
yeah. True, true,
So
true.
Chief Joseph, he eventually decides to surrender. I think he meets with Miles, and he's like held hostage by Miles briefly, and General Howard is absolutely incensed because he's been putting in the work. He's the one who's been pursuing them this entire
Yeah.
time, nearly the whole 1200 1200 miles approximately. The Nez Perce flight takes, or they travel 1200 miles with like, and hold off the Americans at most every turn with, I think the figure is about 800 men
Hmm.
to, or 800 people total. So it's pretty fucking impressive that they were able to hold out this long. And now here Miles is just
Yeah.
coming in at the
Uh-huh.
last fucking second and just being like, "Oh, I'll take that. Don't mind if I do. That is mine. That victory is mine." And the press gives it to him because obviously it's like,
Okay.
the all the fucking fake news outlets or whatever are like,
Yeah.
"Oh, Chief Joseph surrendered to
It's quite
Miles today." And Howard's like, "Well, what the fuck? I've been here. I've been here the whole time. I've been
it's
here the whole
quite
time."
it's quite similar to the way that you take all the credit for this podcast and I do all the work.
Oh yeah.
And I do all the work. All this is me. Every all of it.
I'm just grifting, man.
You're
I'm just
just
here
a
for a good
grifter.
time. All right.
You're just a grifter that likes to talk about it. You're just grifting. I don't know. No, no. That's you know, it's probably the other way around. But let's move on.
October 5th of 1877, one of Howard's commanders, this guy, I think his name's Charles Erskine Wood, he hands the editor of a newspaper a quote unquote, what Wood says is a verbatim transcript of Chief Joseph's reasons for surrendering, where he says to Howard, he says, like, he's talking to Howard basically, because this is his primary adversary. He's like, "I know your heart. I'm tired of fighting. All of our chiefs have been killed. Looking Glass and Tuhuhulzote are dead. All of our old men and our elders are dead. We're cold and we have no blankets and we don't have a lot of food and our children are starving." And he closes by saying, "Hear me, my chiefs. I am tired. My heart is sick and sad. From where the sun now stands, I will fight no evermore. No more forever, rather." And so back in the, I guess, the eastern United States, like all of it, the rest of the continental United, oh, it's all continental, not all of it, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Rest of the United States, Chief Joseph is thought as the master tactician of the Nez Perce campaign. He's like, basically, he's comparable to Red Cloud and how they think of him. But in reality, his younger brother, like Olcott and Looking Glass, and this other warrior named Rainbow and Yellow Wolf, and many others, are more responsible for how the campaign was conducted. But in the eyes of the whites, Chief Joseph gets all the credit.
Because white people can't learn more than one name. That's
Can't learn more
just
than one name.
Americans,
No,
dog. We
that's
can't
yeah,
learn
man.
that. I mean, let me not isolate it to white people. It's Americans. Not a big memory on us. I got
Not great
one
with
name.
names.
Who was the second dude in Al Qaeda? Who was the actual dude who actually planned a lot of that stuff?
Zawahiri,
See, don't see. I'm trying to get something across here, you son of a bitch.
Ayman al-Zawahiri.
Yeah, it was
All
all
right,
out here.
but I'm a freak, so I know
Yeah,
that.
no,
So
we
I
know,
don't.
we know it's out here. But most people, Osama.
Osam, the second
What-
guy in charge.
You know,
I hope I don't get on a list for knowing that. I feel like I might have.
well, dude, we know too much. We're already on this.
We're
You know
already
how
on
much we
this
talked about
list.
Mao recently? We
Yeah,
know too much.
a lot of Mao hits will
Yeah,
really fuck up your
yeah,
FBI
yeah,
permanent record, you know?
yeah.
And so October through November of 1877, the Nez Perce and the Americans are negotiating the terms of surrender, and Miles and Howard are basically on the same page that the Nez Perce are going to go back to the Wallowa Valley and join a reservation near their traditional lands.
Yeah.
However, they're overruled by General William Tecumseh Sherman, who
Okay.
detains Chief Joseph and the remaining Nez Perce in Fort Leavenworth for a little bit. They're there as POWs for about 8 months before being moved to what is then called Indian Territory, what we now know as Oklahoma. They get to a reservation
God
in
damn it.
Oklahoma.
God damn it. I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh at the fucking, but like Oklahoma is such a dog shit, and they know it. I love Oklahoma. It's fun, but like, no, it's not. I'm joking.
Not to be too just
No, like
disparaging.
Tulsa and Okay, yeah, there's things, yeah.
There's
But
shit
no, I
there.
mean, you know Oklahoma. Yeah, look, y'all been there. You lived there. Okay, but all right.
I lived there for a little. Yeah,
No,
I mean,
it's just the tragedy and like the also is like bullshit of like going to Oklahoma. That your story ends in Oklahoma.
yeah, not to
Is
sound too disparaging, but I
yeah.
know Oklahoma sucks because that's what we gave the indigenous. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Or we're not going to give them the good land
No, it's
to save
Oklahoma
that. You
is
know,
it
like
yeah, it's a try look. 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 like
devil's in the details. All
yeah,
right, the
look.
proof is in the pudding. Okay.
look.
They get to Oklahoma,
yeah.
and sure enough, they find like we're supposed to be agriculturalists now, but the soil fucking sucks, and we can't grow crops, so
Yeah.
we're starving, and there are like waves of epidemic diseases coming through, and conditions are just awful on the reservation. And Chief Joseph, throughout this, he's fighting for like equality in the eyes of the Americans, but also they want to go back to their land. So in 1879, Chief Joseph he visits with President Rutherford B. Hayes. And he's feted and feasted, and he meets with all the other bigwigs out there. Like he's Sherman has a particular amount of respect for Chief Joseph, but I think that's because Sherman thought that he was the master tactician of all this. Sherman being a military man, he would obviously respect that in someone else, right?
Two quick things. One, first, it's weird they send them to Oklahoma like now, like in the 1870s, and they're like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you can go farm. No, they already know that there's no farming. Like Oklahoma is trash land for farming because the
Mm-hmm.
people who came there in the 1830s, the Cherokees, Chickasaws, the southern tribes, they all came there. They said, look, there's the all this land is trash to farm on. So they already know that. Also,
Yeah.
there's shit ton of tribes here. So they're
Mm-hmm.
not their land is going to be very small, very isolated. Second, and then also Sherman at this point, Sherman was like at first it was like, oh man, total war, like just, that's a
Mm-hmm.
great strategy.
Mm-hmm.
By now, she's like, no, this is just a personality flaw, dog.
Yeah,
You're just a crazy person.
you're just a crazy person. You're
yeah,
a crazy werewolf. All right, he
yeah, you're
looks like
just
a werewolf. Like
yeah, you're just out of your fucking mind.
you're just
like,
bloodthirsty,
yeah,
man.
you're just a bloodthirsty son of a
You just
bitch.
need to talk about your father. That's
Yeah,
what you need to do. All right.
yeah.
But you know what? You know what? We can't shit on Oklahoma too much. You know what Oklahoma gave us Tiger King. All right.
No,
Idaho gave
dude, there's
us
some
Napoleon Dynamite, and Oklahoma gave us Tiger King.
there's a
Okay.
weirdly beautiful part of Oklahoma. After McAllister, like near McAllister, before you get to Muskogee, like that whole lake area, that's
Mm-hmm.
gorgeous. That's dope as fuck. Look, Tulsa seems. I've heard Tulsa's dope. I've heard OKC is dope. But look, and I don't mind shitting on Vanita, Oklahoma. I've passed it various times, and I have said it is, whew, whew.
Desolate or
yeah,
barren out there.
Vanita, Oklahoma.
They have a Tecumseh, Oklahoma, too. I don't think I hope it's not named after Sherman, or else they would have just named it Sherman. I think it might be named after The
Oh,
Tecumseh, big dog Tecumseh.
in the idea of that they left all of Oklahoma to Native American peoples. Just
Think about that.
think about no, that's gonna end. That ends soon. That ends. They also
Yeah.
take that. They also
Not even that. Yeah.
yeah.
Later he doesn't only visit, or Rutherford B. Hayes is not the only president that Chief Joseph visits. He also visits with President Theodore Roosevelt, I think in like 1902 or 1903, like early into his presidency, which I thought was pretty cool. And he's always trying to rebuild the Nez Perce claim to the Wallowa Valley. Something that Sharfstein mentioned as well is he says that the Nez Perce campaign was used by Teddy Roosevelt while he was vice president, I believe, as a justification for war in the Philippines. Like, we've already displaced these people on a much larger campaign. We can intervene in the Philippines and take that over as well, because it's not worse than what we've already done. I thought that was kind of interesting.
Jesus.
1885, Chief Joseph and the Nez Perce, Chief Joseph's request and the request of his people is achieved, and they move back to their land near their land at the Colville Reservation, which is basically like the last, or it's where it's where a lot of the natives who just never signed a treaty ended up, at Colville. So all the last holdouts are out there. Chief Joseph, at the end of his life, he joins Buffalo Bill for a while and like travels with him and sees various parts of the U.S. And he also witnesses firsthand, I think, on the reservation or near the reservation, there's this place called the Carlisle School, who or that works to reform, or if you want to think of it as re-education, because it very much is the indigenous.
Yeah.
They can't speak their language. They can't grow their hair out. They can't
Cultural genocide.
practice their traditional way of life.
Yeah.
They
It's a
they whiten
perpetrating
them.
a cultural genocide against Native Americans
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
by introducing re-education camps
Mm-hmm.
and in a Stalinistic type
Fashion.
style. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Chief Joseph is there to witness it, and
Yeah.
he's obviously upset about that.
Yeah. And or the re-education camps, are the model for the Stalinistic type style.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean,
This is the
you hear
first. This is first. This is
re-education.
the first.
What do you think about when you hear re-education?
Yeah.
It's never good, you
It's
know.
never it's never like, oh, I learned a lot and that was
Mm-hmm.
fun. Just ask the Uyghurs.
It's the re in front of it. Like, just call it education. If you're learning new stuff,
I'm gonna
just
put
is education. If
I'm
you're
gonna
re-educating somebody, then it's like,
I'm gonna put
I
this
don't know
on.
about that. It's the re that fucks it up.
I'm gonna put this Uyghur talk on TikTok and just watch it get 0 hits.
I don't know, man. They're pretty woke.
And I'm looking up for
I
like
think.
Colville. I'm looking up Colville on like Google Images and stuff. And like I
Doesn't
don't
look
know
good.
where they were in Oklahoma, but it's probably so far up. It's probably such a
No,
such a
this is
step up.
back in this is back in the Northwest. This is
Yeah, no,
back
I
in like
know, no, I
oh,
know.
okay, all right, all
Colville
right.
looks nice
Yeah.
compared to anything I've seen in
Oh, in
Oklahoma.
Oklahoma.
And
Yeah.
and when I'm just thinking about Vanita,
Vanita,
I
got it
love
out.
Vanita because their main attraction is the McDonald's that's over the highway.
Is it a big one?
It's over a highway. It's on a bridge over the highway.
Man, I'm gonna go there for my birthday, man. Get feasted on my birthday at the McDonald's off the highway in
Yeah,
Vanita.
it's not off the highway. It's over the highway.
Over.
Yeah,
Forgive me.
yeah. Don't you fucking talk shit on Vanita.
Just a tour guide in a McDonald's. Like, this McDonald's was established in 1846.
It's a big deal.
At one point, while Chief Joseph is with Buffalo Bill, maybe while he's with him. I'm pretty sure while he was with him. If not, it was a separate engagement. What I do know is that there's like a county fair that's going on the East Coast, and Chief Joseph shares the stage with both Red Cloud and Geronimo.
Worst for Union tour ever.
I wonder if they even knew each other. I mean,
No.
they must have like formed solidarity after the fact, and I'm sure they
Yeah.
like heard about each other through the grapevine and everything. But I wonder if it was like it must have been a weird situation.
Yeah, no, it's just gotta be like let's just yeah, like we're gonna go out one last time. Like
Uh-huh.
it's like it's just like I don't really want to. I would rather just be
I
at
just
my
want to
home
chill.
place
Hmm.
and like protecting my dad's bones that I didn't get
Yeah,
to
man. But
that
now
are
I'm
that
at
are
this county fair watching all these
probably
people
owned
eat
by some
corn.
white dude named Big Jeff.
Big Jeff. Big,
Like yeah, like that's just you gotta fucking you now
Big
you
Jeff the potato farmer.
yeah the
Yeah.
potato Big Jeff
Okay.
owns where my dad is buried at. G. Yeah, but I'm on this reunion tour with some people I don't even
With
know.
two dudes I don't even know,
Yeah,
really.
yeah,
Like two dudes I just met, and they think we're you
yeah.
guys are all indigenous. You must all know
We
each
all
other. It's
know
like
each other
no,
because
no,
we're
no, no,
indigenous.
no.
Yeah, no, we don't. No, no,
It is until September 21st of 1904 that Chief Joseph dies at the age of 64. Apparently, he was alone in his teepee on the Colville reservation, and the doctor who later examines him says that Chief Joseph died of a broken heart.
yeah, man. There's no positive endings in this group of stories we've been doing. There's no positive. There's no like, and they actually got to keep their land, and they all got laid. That's never happened. That doesn't happen, and it's
Doesn't
not a fun
happen.
time. Yeah,
Well,
man.
who's to know what will happen? Because this is all history. I'm not sure if there's a research. I think there's a resurgence in interest. I don't know enough about the figures of like U.S. indigenous and if that population is bouncing back or if it's growing or anything like that. So, but this is history. This all happened, but
Yeah.
who knows what will happen? You know?
No, I mean, I don't think maybe you know I remember, yeah, I don't think from my recent memory of like most Native American like reservations, especially ones out west, it's not doing great. But it differs from like different places. Which ones are more close to economic resources? It's a whole thing.
Yeah,
That could be a whole episode too. But
yeah.
we're in a sociology podcast. We're a
Mm-mm.
fucking history podcast. So people gotta
Mm-hmm.
die, and then we can cover
Mm-hmm. They gotta
them.
die. They gotta be out of here before we can even cover them. You know?
Okay, well, guys, I want to thank you for listening. Actually, who do we have next week?
Next week,
This has been Chief Joseph. Who do we have next
this
week?
has been Chief Joseph.
Yeah,
Are we doing Christmas traditions next week?
I
Yeah,
think we're doing Christmas next
we're
week.
doing
Yeah, it's
Christmas
gonna be a vibe.
traditions.
Yeah,
Just gonna examine some of the roots of
yeah,
Christmas.
we did it
And
last year. We're gonna do it again.
well, we did Santa Claus
We
last year.
did. Oh yeah, we did do Santa
We're
Claus.
just
Okay,
looking at the
I
the
don't.
the traditions.
I'm
What
not.
happened?
I'm not really on this podcast. I don't remember things.
It happens.
Yeah. So, guys, we want to thank you for listening. But you can do more than listen. You can like, you can
Mhm.
share, you can subscribe,
Mhm.
you can follow us on all of the social media platforms that we're on.
You can leave a review. You
Leave a
can
review.
tell your friends if you want to help us out real well. Do both of those things. That would be
Word of
dope.
mouth marketing, something we need. You
Uh
guys
huh.
can follow us on Instagram at Hard Fried History, on Facebook at Hard Fried History, on Twitter HFH Podcast. You can follow me at Joshua B Stokes on Instagram and Twitter, and Joshua Stokes on Facebook. Henry, where can they find you?
I'm just Henry Price on Instagram and or Henry E Price on Instagram. Henry Price on Facebook.
Guys, please follow, like, just
Hmm.
subscribe. Please subscribe. Please go to our YouTube, subscribe at
Hmm.
Hard Fried History. Please do that. I have, I have it. I've done work on it, and it's getting better. So please
It's
do
getting
that, and
better.
please
Moving on up,
validate
man.
my work. Or I'm not saying I'll hurt myself. I won't, but I'll be sad. I'll be a little sad boy.
Threats out, man. Threats
That's
out.
out. That
All
no, because
right.
then I have to honor it if they don't do anything. No, because I don't want to like go there and see like no views and then I have to do something. So no, I won't do anything to myself, but it would help me. It would help me and make
It
me
would
feel
help us.
better. You know what I mean? Guys, I want to thank you guys for listening. We'll see you next time. And peace.
Peace out.